Hi there, welcome to another base laydown talk through. This video was actually supposed to go up last week, and I did do a talk through for this whole thing, but I didn't like the way it came out, so I'm redoing it right now. But here is the kit I'm using. It's called Irish Luck. I have some very strong opinions about art for planner kits, but I'll go over that in just a second. I'm just showing off some of the boxes here. This is the second time I've used this art, although this is a different shop because I actually have a different planning format than when I first bought this art. So I'm just going through all of this. I was confused about the purse, but I really like the colors of this kit, and um, I love the way that the Irish dancers are drawn. They look fantastic. I did print all the extras that came with this kit, including the different family style fashion people. I make a comment in my original video about how all different ethnicities and races are represented in Irish dancing. Just because it's called Irish dancing doesn't mean that non-Irish people can't do it. Everybody can do it. In fact, there's sort of a Skedaddle Nation campaign going around right now that is sort of reviving just the story of it on social media. You can look that up. But just so you know, when I was a competitive Irish dancer, I saw lots of different cultures represented because Irish dancing it's very inherent in Irish culture, but it also transcends Irish culture now, which is very, very cool. I'm commenting on the fact that we would never have our socks rolled down like this. They would be glued to our legs using an adhesive for competition. You'd really only have that if you were just in class, and so you definitely wouldn't look like that if you were just out and about. Um, in a parade or something. But anyway, I had a lot of different fun stickers to work with. That one is from Stick with the Plan Co. I'm making a comment about how she drew this girl wearing like a German outfit, even though this is clearly an Irish outfit. And then I had some really fun Sweet Ava's paper and just different samplers in different green. I chose sequin gold for this gold kit bundle because I thought it would lend itself towards all of the different green colors, but the sequins were kind of a fun surprise. You can see them really well in those flags there, but they just look really sparkly and fun. So I ended up using that clover bundle from Plana Hannah, and then I also used some hunter green, underlays from Plana Hannah to give it a little more oomph. And I'm loving the dark underlays with the lighter foil pairing. It just looks great. And I did have a little bit of printer or silhouette portrait trouble, I should say, cutting these. I just sometimes my silhouette really loves me and everything is great, and then other times it does not want to cut right. But so sometimes when things like this happen and I know I'm only going to use a couple of the boxes, I'll just cut them out myself, and that's totally fine. Um, but I had some trouble sort of picking out the different boxes I was going to use with this kit, um, just because there were so many of them. But let's get into it. So I did speed this video up a little bit just because it's harder to do a talk through when you're not doing it in real time. But anyway, so I thought I would talk a little bit about Irish culture, Irish background, and name some fun things for you to check out. If you are not Irish or you don't have any interest, this video might not be interesting to you, but it is fun to keep in the background if you're planning, for sure. So, um, Irish culture has been heavily stereotyped, as have most ethnicities, I think. But one of the things that I really hate whenever the planner sets come out every year is that drinking is always like the most heavily thought of thing. And yes, we are good drinkers. Okay, you caught us. Like we're much better at it than a lot of other um, ethnicities or but I gotta tell you, like we have a lot more going for us besides our whiskey and our stout. Um, Irish foods and Irish culture in general is kind of misguided, I think, and in modern era. So I thought I would just share a few things that you could check out that are not necessarily related to drinking, but are just about the history and the culture of Ireland itself. So, if you are interested in Irish dancing, most cities do have Irish dancing schools. You do not have to be a child to sign up either. There's lots of fun adult dancing opportunities. When you are young, you usually start when you're about 4 or 5. I didn't start until I was about 10, which is much later than I think most people do. And I happened to be living in this part of Brooklyn that allowed me to go work with one of the best Irish dancing instructors in the world. It's the Downey Golden School of Irish Dance. And it was his instruction and his choreography that led to some of the major dance shows that you've heard of today, including Riverdance. So I was very proud and honored to be an Irish step dancer with his school. And we used to compete regularly. We would go to regionals, nationals, and worlds. I myself never made it to worlds. I was never that good, but I definitely had friends who did, and I did get to go to nationals a couple of times. My biggest career to date was really dancing at Carnegie Hall with the Chieftains. Here's your first cultural shout out. If you don't know who the Chieftains are, they are an incredible traditional Irish band that have been recording music with all kinds of artists for generations. And they are the creme de la creme of Irish music today, period, end of sentence. But they are so talented and so insane. We were asked to dance with them at Carnegie Hall on St. Patrick's Day. And I remember I had never been so terrified in my life. Um, they, there's different sets of traditional Irish music. There are reels, jigs, slip jigs, um, hornpipes, and all these other traditional dances that have individual names, but the reel is the one that's the most common, and it's pretty fast paced. But the chieftains, so it's usually a typical reel pace is bum ba-da-dum bum 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 ba-dum bum 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 like that. The chieftains go bum ba-da bum 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 bum, but they almost double time it, and so the countdown is usually like 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, go, and then you go out. Um, we were on a very slippery, it's Carnegie Hall. We were on a very slippery stage, and we had to go out in perfect unison because that's the sort of the highlight of Irish dancing. You go out and you are uniform. It's almost like soldier-esque. You go out and your arms are at your sides and you have perfect posture and your feet are perfectly turned out and you are perfectly timed. And so when you're going out and you're counting with the chieftains and you're in front of this live audience at Carnegie Hall, you are praying to every god you believe in that you are not going to fall. um, because the tap shoes that you're wearing are like fiberglass and they're very, very slippery. And we tape the shit out of them, but you can still fall. So when the countdown started, it was something like 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, go, and then you go out. And I think my heart fell into my stomach. It was the most exhilarating moment, I think, of my dancing career, bar none. But it was truly terrifying, and I loved it. It was over in a flash. There are some pictures of it. I think my mother took a few pictures, but anyway, so now I think I'm just talking about the fiddle and Irish music, and there's so many great instruments in Irish music. You have the different kinds of bagpipes. You have, and I hate Scottish bagpipes. I'm sorry, they're really loud, and I feel like there's only 3 songs that I ever hear on Scottish bagpipes. But the ukulele pipes, the bodhrán, which is a really cool drum. You've got the tin whistle. Um, my favorite instruments are the percussion ones, so I like the bodhrán and I like the spoons. um, but some of the best music is done with 1 or 2 musicians in a bar in Ireland. You just show up and they're just playing, and the best thing you can do as a audience member is just like stomp your feet along with the music. It's so great. I mean, if you ever get the chance to go to Ireland, go. go immediately. It's a beautiful place and it's just stunning. I loved visiting there and I actually studied abroad there for a semester over summer in Dublin at Trinity College and it was such a joy. Um, so we really had the best summer. I wasn't 21 yet. I was about to turn 21. Uh, so when I did turn 21 in the States, it was kind of like, oh, okay, because I spent the summer drinking. You only have to be 18 to drink in Ireland, so we were well within the drinking age. But anyway, so getting back to the plan with me, you can see I am putting down the hunter green, and then I did the sequin like shamrocks on top of it, and it just looks perfect. I love the way this came out. Hunter green is fast becoming one of my favorites. Hunter green and navy, because they're not black and they just they make all the foil look that much better. I definitely could probably print out this color and wouldn't need to get it in double foil, but I think it just looks so much better. So, what was I talking about? Oh, so I talked about Irish dancing, I talked about going to Ireland. Um, let's talk about some Irish books that I would recommend. If you're new to Irish culture and you're not familiar, one of the things that Ireland really does better than a lot of places, especially given its size, is its writing. Some of the best writers in the world uh, call Ireland home. And I would say if you want to learn more about Ireland specifically and Irish culture, the first book I'd recommend to you is actually a collection of short stories by James Joyce called Dubliners. It's chronological, so it starts with the protagonist at a young age and then it moves throughout time, and it's never the same protagonist, but it is just a really great snapshot of Dublin itself. And um, it's very digestible. It's nothing like Finnegan's Wake or Ulysses. You can read it in an afternoon. It's very short, but it's a really great piece of writing. So I definitely recommend that. My next book would be anything by the poet Seamus Heaney. Really beautiful work, modern poetry. With a really good historical bent. And then Seamus Heaney is also responsible for some of the greatest translations of classical work that he recently just did one of Beowulf that I also recommend. I think that was really, really good. Um, and then if you want something that's more modern and is nonfiction, I would recommend Say Nothing by Patrick, I'm going to mess up his name, Patrick Roden Keefe. Um, and Say Nothing is actually now also a show on Hulu. They've dramatized it, but it's all based in real events about the Troubles in Northern Ireland in the 1960s, 70s, and 80s. And it follows the story of some IRA members who um, did commit acts of terrorism and um, sort of talked about the organization and what they did. And it's it's a really fascinating look at the history of things. And I think you can compare a lot of modern day warfare to what was happening in Ireland in the 70s and 80s and well into the 90s. Um, it just countries at civil war where one country has massive amounts of military resources and experience, and then the other is more militia guerrilla based. And then also talking just about what the people who lived in these places had to endure and how they ultimately became the victims and ended the war essentially. Um, but it's just really difficult to distill all of Irish history into a 2-minute conversation. Um, and it really does depend on what side you fall on. I was raised Catholic, with the phrase England get out of Ireland ringing in my head since I was a young kid. So you can see where I stand on this. Um, however, I don't condone a lot of what the IRA did in the 80s. Innocent people were killed. Terrible things were done to innocent families that were torn apart. And this show and the book, Say Nothing, illustrates that, I think, really, really well. I actually listened to the audiobook of Say Nothing, which is voiced by a Northern Irish narrator. So that's one of the reasons why I like audiobooks, because you can actually get the voice of the culture that's being represented. So definitely worth checking out. But those are the three that come to mind. There's also a lot of like Sally Rooney, Flannery O'Connor, Colm Tobin, who wrote Brooklyn and Long Island. Uh, really great authors, definitely worth checking out. And then Patty Doyle if you want something really funny and ridiculous. Um, yeah. So I'm just talking about some of the books, I think, because there were a lot of books mentioned in this uh, really cute clip art, and you can't really see them because there's a pot of coffee and an Irish coffee mug sitting in front of it. So this is kind of what I'm talking about. Like the effort is made on the drinking and not so much on like the cultural aspect of it, and that kind of bothers me um, in the planner community. There were a lot of sets that came out this year that were like pink, which I don't mind. I mean, I get that they're trying to get a little bit of variety, but hot pink is not what I associate with Irish culture. So unless it's on a very insane Irish dance dress like the one I had. But anyway, I'm not sure what I was talking about where I'm gesticulating wildly right now, but I'll go into something else. Um, there are so many great Irish films that I can recommend, and they can hit a wide range of moods. So if you want something super serious that's about Irish culture, that or about Irish history and Irish warfare, The Wind That Shakes the Barley with Cillian Murphy is an excellent, excellent film. It's very dark. It has a lot of violence in it, so just keeping that in mind. But if you want something that's like funnier, there's In Bruges. Um, that I would also recommend. If you want to go classic, you can't go wrong with The Quiet Man with um, John Wayne and Margaret O'Hara. I did watch that this year actually while I was making corned beef and potatoes on St. Patrick's Day. I just had it on in the background. Um, some of my favorite Irish films are really funny. Waking Ned Devine is one about two old men on one of the remote islands in Ireland. Somebody wins the lottery, and the winner passes away from the shock. So his friends try to convince the lotto that they are him. And in order to do that, they have to convince the whole town to go along with the story. And it is really, really funny. It's just a really, really laugh out loud film. The other one I really love is called The Matchmaker. And this one came out in the early 90s. It stars Janine Garofalo, who is sent to this part of Ireland where she's trying to track down a politician's roots in Boston to help him win an election. And she ends up in the middle of a matchmaking festival, which is a real thing. This place actually has a yearly matchmaking festival where people get matched up to be married. Um, and it is just so, so funny. And in fact, Chloe, if you are watching this, my friend Chloe watches my Plan with Me's. Um, our classmate, Ngozi, his father was a filmmaker and he worked on this film. And you can actually see Ngozi in the like end of the movie where they're in Boston and there's a bunch of kids waving flags and he's standing there in overalls and a yellow turtleneck. And that was really hilarious to me. And apparently it was because his father was working on the film and he just happened to be there that day. So they put him in the shot. But anyway, if you want something a little bit more like Irish American stories, the movie Brooklyn with Saoirse Ronan, which is based on the novel by Colm Tobin that I mentioned, that's a really good one that came out fairly recently. Um, in America, which is a sort of independent film. I think it's John Sheridan. I can't remember. Um, it might be a different director, sorry. But that one is really interesting, and that one is set in the 80s and in New York. And it's about an Irish family who immigrates to New York to start their new life after losing one of their family members. And it's beautiful and heartbreaking. That one is kind of sad. Um, if you want animated films, there are for your kids to watch, there are 3 that I recommend, all from the same animation studio. The first one is called The Secret of Kells. This one is about um, the Book of Kells and sort of the protection of the story and how it came to exist. The Book of Kells is real. It was written and illustrated by monks hundreds and hundreds of years ago, and it is actually on display at Trinity College in Dublin, and it's just gorgeous. But the so that is something really special. And then Song of the Sea, which is my favorite, is about 2 young kids in Ireland who live with their father in a lighthouse just off the main coast, and their mother is actually a selkie, which is a half woman, half seal creature. Um, and it turns out that the youngest daughter is also a selkie. And so, in order to save and protect her, they have to go on this grand adventure. And it's just beautiful. Like the animation is gorgeous, the music is really gorgeous. Highly, highly recommend um, both of these, Secret of Kells and Song of the Sea. The most recent one that came out from this studio is called Wolfwalkers, and that one is actually available for streaming on Apple Plus. And that one is about a young British girl who's in an outpost in Ireland with her father in the Middle Ages, and then she encounters this wolf walker who's a young sort of girl who's half wolf, half human, and um, it's really, really good. I like that one. That one came out, I think, maybe 3 years ago. So that one is also available. The last one I'll recommend that I loved as a kid, The Secret of Roan Inish. That came out in the 90s, and that's about a young girl. It's also about a Selkie. It's about a young girl whose family has sort of disappeared from the islands, and her brother Jamie has gone missing, presumed drowned in the ocean. And it turns out that the Selkies have actually been taking care of him, and it's a live action. It's beautiful. I love the music. Um, so I just named a ton of different movies, but yeah, and now it's only I'm only halfway through the video. I'm trying to think of what else I can talk about. But anyway, so I was struggling to create a flap there. So and these are kind of hard for me because I have some visual spatial issues. Um, but yeah, they're really useful for the plan for memory planning, especially when you have a lot of art that you want to use. And so I think I ended up using the Kiss Me I'm Irish board, and then I used the little Lucky Charms pancakes. For all my talk about stereotypes, I actually do love Lucky Charms cereal. um, it's just kind of fun. So anyway, um, but yeah, getting this paper to bend and then not get totally messed up when you fold it down is really hard. So I'm still trying to figure out like the best way to do that without it getting all messed up, but there you have it. Um, but yeah, so now I'm just still laying all of these down. Let's see, and I haven't done any of the headers yet, it looks like, either. Let me see, what else can I talk about? Hmm. I'm only 25 minutes in. I think I have another 10 minutes to talk, and I'm just not sure what I was kind of talking about. But yeah. Oh, I think this is where I'm talking about the chieftains, and yeah, you could see my hands get uh, soft and then quick, slow and then quick. But yeah. So what else? What else? What else? What else? I'd love to know in the comments if you celebrate St. Patrick's Day or not. You know, I think a lot of people just kind of let it pass them by. Um, I feel like this was a bigger deal in New York in the 1940s and 50s when there were so many Irish American families that were still trying to come to terms with their roots. Um, and it wasn't that long ago when the Irish were marginalized for taking on low collar, blue collar jobs. Um, in fact, I didn't realize this at the time, but the name Bridget used to be synonymous with like a housemaid. So you didn't have a maid, you had a Bridget, which I think is really strange. And, you know, while we're talking about immigration and um, all of the deportation stuff that's happening right now, it makes me think like, you know, the Irish were sort of protected because of their whiteness, but like they would have been talked about in the same ways that um, people are talking about minorities today. And I feel like it's kind of a the whole thing is awful. But what I'm trying to say is we all in America we all came from somewhere else, unless you have family that are rooted here before colonization began, in which case that's not true for you. But I think it's people get put into these boxes and they shouldn't. Um, but yeah, so I know that the Irish parades kind of came out of that. And when you have a lot of Irish in politics and the police force and the firefighters and all of that, you can pretty much put on a great parade. And to my knowledge, there are still no parade floats in the New York St. Patrick's Day parade. It's still dancers and musicians and Ancient Order of Hibernians from different factions marching. Um, so that's kind of where we're at, but yeah. Okay, so Amy Ray Plans has been doing these prompts where she'll do like a this or that. And so I found a couple for St. Patrick's Day, so I thought I would do some of those. The first one is uh, a pint of Guinness or a glass of Irish whiskey. This is a really hard question for me. I I love both. I'm not drinking right now, but if I was, I would probably opt for the glass of whiskey. Irish whiskey is some of the best whiskey in the world, and it is so delicious. And there's a very specific way that you're supposed to drink it. You should never drink Irish whiskey neat. There should always be a little drop of water in it, even if there's no ice. Oh, see, now this is coming together. This looks really, really good. And now I get to put all of the shamrock clovers on top of, of the headers, and I think that's going to make it really sparkly. Okay, so yeah, so I love Irish whiskey, but I do love Guinness too. I think Guinness is one of the best. Um, I mean, it's the best stout in the world, but I also think it's really good to cook with. A lot of people forget about this, that you can cook with Guinness and it'll give it a nice texture and flavor. This year I did make brown bread, but I didn't use any Guinness. But then I did use Guinness to make the corned beef. So for my corned beef, I used an Instant Pot, and then I just threw in some water, some herbs, some Kerrygold butter, and then I threw in 12 ounces of Guinness to sort of tenderize the meat, and it came out perfect. It was so good. Uh, Also, non-alcoholic Guinness, in my opinion, is some of the best non-alcoholic beer that exists today. I really don't think there's anything else that matches the taste quite like it. Um, so that's my opinion on those. Irish soda bread or Colcannon. I hate Colcannon. Colcannon, for those of you who don't know, is cabbage. When you're talking about corned beef and cabbage, the Colcannon is it's it's potatoes with cabbage or kale in it. Um, it's also a popular St. Bridget's feast meal, but I'd rather just have regular mashed potatoes. I don't need Colcannon. So definitely my answer to that is Irish soda bread, um, which I always prefer it with the raisins and the caraway seeds. Just okay. A traditional Irish stew or a plate of Irish sausages. So we wouldn't call them sausages, we'd call them bangers. Um, but yeah, Irish bangers for sure. I would definitely pick those. A hot cup of Irish coffee or an iced Irish tea. Okay, no, I've never had iced Irish breakfast tea. That would be gross. I can't see that going well. Um, Irish coffee does have alcohol in it. So traditionally it's regular coffee, a shot of whiskey, and then you've got your heavy cream on top, and it's in a tall glass with a small handle. Good Irish coffee can be delicious, but I like Irish breakfast tea. It's very rich and it's black tea, so it'll wake you up. It's really, really good. A bag of Irish potato chips or a bag of Irish candy. I'm not sure what Irish candy is, but I would say Irish crisps. They're not potato chips, they're crisps. And I actually did have some really good Castle Blue cheese from Trader Joe's this year. I saved it. It was so good. Um, Okay, next one. Attending St. Patrick's Day parade or a traditional Irish music session. Definitely session. If you've never sat in on a traditional session for Irish music, you're missing out. It's like one of the most lively and fun experiences ever. Um, the musicians who come together, generally, sometimes they don't even know each other, but everybody knows the same songs, and so it's actually really fun to just be a part of it. And then you're usually sitting in a pub with a pint while it's happening, and oh, it's just the best. I love it. Um, Learning to play the ukulele pipes or learning a few Irish dance steps. I think learning the dance steps is a little easier than playing the ukulele pipes. I don't think I could do it. Um, Visiting the cliffs of Moher or exploring the Ring of Kerry. So the cliffs of Moher are really beautiful. They're closed right now, actually, which is remarkable because I don't think they've ever closed them in history. But the wind has been so bad lately that it changes the visibility and can really knock you right off. So it's good that they closed it. There's also a lot of erosion from the sea because the wind is whipping everything up, and so the roads are very eroded. But the Ring of Kerry is also beautiful, although I don't like to drive the Ring of Kerry because you're driving on the other side of the road and it's very windy and scary. But it's really beautiful. So, and lovely, I will say. Um, and then let's see. Listening to Irish music or dancing to Irish music. They're both good. I feel like um, I have to say dancing, but that's easier for me because I know how to do it. So it's not that hard, guys. You really can learn, although it can be dangerous. I've had friends who have broken and sprained things doing Irish dancing, so uh, sorry, Chloe. Um, But yes, I love the way this came out with the little borders. I think it's so pretty. And I'm sorry you can't see that. I'm just adding the March script to the top. Or no, I'm sorry, I'm not. I'm adding the days of the week. I decided not to use the date covers because they were so thick. And I'm glad I did that because then I was able to use the deco and kind of make it a little bit prettier. Uh, and these are from Carly Plans, I believe. They seem a little small, but they're easy to read. That's all I care about. Oh, I gave you a little sneak peek of what's coming down the pipeline there. So St. Patrick's Day is always on the 17th because it is a saint's day. And in the Catholic Church, we all the saints have specific days. So St. Bridget's Day is always February 1st. And in fact, back in the day, if you were born on a certain day, whatever day that was, whatever saint's day that was your name. Like that's how they used to name people back then, which is great if you like the name, but is terrible if you don't. So anyway, I was trying to figure out where I could place that flag because I wanted to use it, and wow, you can really see how fancy the foil is there. I ended up placing it on one of the full boxes and just putting March right over it. Not really sure what the chocolate covered strawberry has to do with St. Patrick's Day, but I covered it right up. So I didn't want to cover the Irish dancers. That's why it's on the second one, not the first one. But yeah, I think I filmed doing this also on uh, the Saturday before St. Patrick's Day. I really meant for this to go up earlier, you guys. So I'm sorry if this is like old news. Oh, you can't see what I'm putting up. But yeah, sometimes things happen. I just didn't like the way that the voiceover came out, and I didn't want to post something that was incomplete. So I decided to wait and re-record it, and then I wasn't able to re-record it before St. Patrick's Day because I had to cook my corned beef. So um, this is me kind of struggling to get. I didn't want to cut the puppy's head because I did that. I think in a previous Plan with Me, I cut off an animal's head, and I felt really bad. Felt really bad about it. Excuse me. And I was able to get the Irish dancer in there, albeit sideways. I should have put her in the middle, but yeah. I've started putting the deco in the middle now. I don't know why other people don't do this because I think it looks so cute. So if I have extra deco, that's where that's going. But anyway, I'm about to finish up and I'm gonna zoom out for the sort of whole thing so you can see everything. But I'm really happy with how this came out. It's definitely the fanciest. So you can see I used 2 extenders on this one, but they look really great, and I actually just finished planning for this week, and I needed all those extenders. So you can see the full shimmer, but anyway, guys, thank you so much for listening and watching. I hope you have a wonderful week, and I'll see you next time.